prompting an investigation by authorities. According to the young girl's statement, the incident occurred during the year 2025. On one occasion between 4:30 p.m. and 5 p.m. while walking home along Independence Street in Orange Walk Town shortly after school, she was approached by a man she recognizes as a family acquaintance. The man reportedly asked her to enter his house to retrieve an item for her mother. Once inside, the girl recounted that the man forcibly pushed her onto a bed and engaged in sexual activity against her will. She also revealed that on January 3rd, 2026, at approximately 2 p.m., she accompanied her family to buy food. On their way back, the man again asked her to visit his residence to pick up something for her mother. When she refused to go inside, the man allegedly followed her, placed a cloth over her mouth and nose, smelling of alcohol, and caused her to faint. When she regained consciousness, she found herself lying face up on a bed inside the man's house. Her shorts and underwear were pulled down to her knees. Frightened, she quickly pulled her clothing back into place and fled the house. She ran home and did not disclose what had happened until early Monday morning, January 5th, when she confided in her mother. Authorities were promptly notified. The girl was interviewed alongside her mother and a social worker and subsequently taken for a medical examination, which concluded that he was carnally known. No further details regarding the suspect's identity have been disclosed at this stage. A tragic shooting in Bamapan has claimed the life of a man after an attempted robbery turned violent. The incident took place shortly before 5 p.m. today in front of Sunny City Supermarket, leaving the community shaken. According to initial reports, a Caribbean chicken delivery truck was targeted by armed assailants on motorcycle during what appears to have been an attempted robbery. During the confrontation, the driver, identified as Mark Anthony Gabriel, pulled to the side after shots were fired at the truck. He rolled up his windows and locked the doors. This is when the two persons on the motorcycle tried to open the door. Citing the impossible, shots were fired at the driver's side window twice. One of those bullets caught Gabriel on the head. The men made good their escape, leaving the money behind. Emergency services responded swiftly to the scene, but Gabriel succumbed to his injuries upon arrival at the Western Regional Hospital. Details surrounding the incident remain under investigation, with authorities working to determine the full circumstances that led to the shooting. An elderly woman confined to a wheelchair narrowly escaped tragedy after a fire engulfed her home in the community of San Narciso in the Corozal district. The blaze reportedly broke out while the elderly woman was inside the residence. A neighborhood noticed the fire and immediately intervened, managing to remove her from the house before the flames could spread further. She was not injured in the incident. According to a teacher who resides at the home, the fire is believed to have started due to an electrical issue near her work desk, where several electronic devices were plugged into a power source. The fire spread rapidly, leaving little time for residents to respond. Another family member later arrived and attempted to extinguish the fire using a truckload of water. Despite the efforts, the flames continued to spread uncontrollably. By the time the fire department arrived on the scene, the house was already fully engulfed in flames. Reports indicate that the family was unable to salvage any belongings, resulting in a total loss. Authorities have not yet formally determined the cause of the fire, and investigations into the incident are ongoing. On Tuesday, January 6, 2026, at approximately 1:30 p.m., officers conducted a vehicular checkpoint along the Philip Golson Highway between miles 62 and 63. During the routine operation, officers stopped a motorcycle with no license plate and being driven at the time by 33-year-old Michael Perez, a Belizean resident of San Jose Village in the Orange Walk district. During the inspection, officers discovered a small plastic bag tucked inside a compartment within the motorcycle's dashboard containing 4 small pieces of a suspicious substance believed to be crack cocaine. Perez was subsequently placed under arrest and formally charged with possession of controlled drugs, specifically zero point 0.5 grams of suspected crack cocaine. Belize's northern sugar cane industry took a positive step forward today, January 7, 2026, as the Belize Sugarcane Farmers Association, BSCFA, and Belize Sugar Industries Limited, BSI, signed a 1-year commercial agreement without any controversy, including no road blockages or disruptions as 2 years ago. This, this agreement, an addendum to the existing contract, extends the current commercial agreement for another year, ensuring a smooth start to the 2026 crop season, which is slated to begin later this month. Despite the numerous challenges facing the industry, both parties reiterated their commitment to working closely together to ensure the success of this vital crop and to consider modifications to the agreement based on recommendations from the recently conducted Commission of Inquiry (COI). As mentioned previously, the Belize sugar industry has been plagued by a host of difficulties in recent years. Climate change has introduced unpredictable weather patterns, leading to reduced yields and crop failures. The proliferation of fusarium wilt, a destructive soil-borne disease, has further diminished cane supply, threatening the industry's long-term viability. Additional hurdles such as outdated infrastructure, fluctuating global sugar prices, and logistical challenges have compounded these issues. However, the absence of controversy in this year's agreement and the mutual willingness to collaborate mark a hopeful turn. Stakeholders are optimistic that this renewed partnership will help address ongoing challenges, stabilize production, and secure the livelihoods of farmers and workers in Belize's northern region. As for the start of the crop, we understand a tentative date of January 19th is being looked at. Coming up next, GOB abandons 13th constitutional amendment and opts for legislative reforms after public consultation. Stay tuned.
Still like one dream, because I say at the age of 63, I can say I own my own house. I can honestly say, and it get me weak. Before this, I was living on the mobile home, right? And then after a while, it started to go in and start to lock up and things.
1, 2, 3.
Actually, I may give up. I used to cry and like time I said, Lord, please. And there comes Miss Mar. They always say, if you're not serious about something, don't pray for it. Don't pray about it. And I ask my God, please lead the Good Samaritan to me.
The housing program of the government of Belize, which is administered through the Ministry of Infrastructure Development and Housing, is definitely, without question, one of the best programs our government has to offer, providing an opportunity for Belizeans who are in need to own their own home. And so I'm very, very happy for Ms. Beverly Harris and her family. She has been asking for support and help with her home for a long time. And I'm very, very glad that with the kind support of the Ministry of Infrastructure Development and Housing, that we were able to get this done for her.
I'm thankful. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give 20. I love it. I love it.
Prime Minister John Bresenio has confirmed that his administration has decided not to proceed with the proposed 13th constitutional amendment, opting instead to pursue an alternative approach following widespread public consultation. The proposed amendment has generated significant debate, particularly among trade unions and other stakeholders in the public domain who raised concerns about its potential implications. Reports indicate that the government's decision was reached after engaging in discussions with unions and listening to feedback from civil society groups. Speaking on the matter today, Minister of Foreign Affairs Honorable Francis Fonseca further clarified the government's position, confirming that while a constitutional amendment is no longer being pursued, changes are being considered within the existing legislative framework. According to the minister, the administration is now examining possible amendments to the act as a way to address the issues initially targeted by the constitutional proposal without altering the Constitution itself.
Yes, I think the Prime Minister has made that clear. We did have a discussion about it in cabinet. I think a few weeks ago. I think the last cabinet meeting before we broke for Christmas. Yeah, and we felt that certain things we would preserve, but there would not be a need for a constitutional amendment. There will be some amendments to the act, but there would not be this need for a constitutional amendment.
Further details on the specific legislative changes under consideration are expected to be shared in the coming weeks. Businessman Chris Rosado, age 34, made a second court appearance in Belize City Magistrates Court on Tuesday, approximately 7 weeks after being formally charged in connection with a deadly traffic collision that resulted in the death of police officer Arsenio Cos. In court, Rosado was presented with comprehensive case disclosures. The evidence package includes 108 pages of documentation, 21 photographs, and 5 DVDs, representing all the evidence the prosecution plans to rely upon. The case has now been scheduled for a preliminary inquiry PI on January 27, 2026. This phase involves presenting all statements and evidence collected during the investigation to determine whether the case should proceed to trial in the High Court. The initial arraignment took place on November 12, 2025, when Rosado faced 5 charges: manslaughter by negligence, causing death by careless conduct, driving without due care and attention, failure to report an accident, and failure to stop and render aid. At that time, no plea was entered, and the prosecution did not oppose bail. Rosado remains free on a $6,000 bail bond secured by 2 sureties of $3,000 each. The charges are linked to a tragic road accident on July 28, 2025, along the Philip Golson Highway near Hull Overbridge in Ladyville. Authorities allege that Officer Arsenio Cos, 38, was traveling towards Belize City on his motorcycle when a black vehicle allegedly veered into his lane and collided with him. The impact caused Cos to lose control, leading to fatal injuries. Following the crash, Cos was rushed to the Carl Houston Memorial Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. An autopsy confirmed that he succumbed to multiple blunt force injuries consistent with a traffic accident. Police investigations led to Rosado's detention at his Ladyville residence, where a damaged black 2009 Honda Ridgeline pickup truck was reportedly recovered. After completing their investigation, authorities submitted all evidence to the Officer of the Director of Public Prosecutions, which on November 11, 2025, authorized charges against Rosado. The upcoming preliminary inquiry, scheduled for January 27, 2026, will determine whether the case proceeds to a full trial in the High Court. Minister of Foreign Affairs Honorable Francis Fonseca today addressed public concerns surrounding the government's decision not to renew the contract of Ombudsman retired Major Gilbert Swazo, clarifying that the move was not the result of any wrongdoing. Speaking to the media, Minister Fonseca said the decision has sparked public debate but emphasized that retired Major Suazo carried out his duties without any allegation of misconduct. According to the minister, the non renewal was simply a policy decision to bring new leadership to the post. Minister Fonseca also sought to reassure the public that the office of the Ombudsman will not remain vacant for an extended period. He confirmed that the process to appoint a new Ombudsman is already underway and that the post is expected to be filled before the end of the month.
Listen, I don't know where people came to the conclusion that these things are automatically renewed. I don't know where that came from. Why is it that, I mean, you have the honor and privilege of serving as the ombudsman for what, 4 years, or I don't know the term. The ombudsman is a man, a good friend of mine. I like him, I respect him. But none of us have any right to any position. He served, I think he served well, and he did his job. So I think the government's view was, he did his job. It's time to get someone else to carry out that function. I don't see that there's any obligation to renew a contract.
But now the office remains empty because there's no succession plan in place.
Man, please, I know you're young, but you seem to just check with Jules. You remember under the UDP administration, we didn't have an ombudsman, I think, for 2 years. 2 years. We didn't have an integrity commission for 2 or 3 years. We didn't have a contractor general for years. We seem to have forgotten these things. An ombudsman will be appointed very shortly. We've had the Christmas break. His contract came to an end the end of December. It's what, the 7th of January. It's been 1 week that we don't have an ombudsman. I can assure you that probably before the end of the month, we will have an ombudsman in place. So that should not be an issue.
Appointment of a new ombudsman are expected in short order. The sudden capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro by United States forces over the weekend has sparked intense debate across the Caribbean and Central America, with government, civil society, and the citizens alike weighing in on the implications of the unprecedented action. In a larger-scale military operation early Saturday, U.S. forces struck strategic targets in Caracas and detained Maduro and his wife, later transporting them to New York to face federal charges, including alleged drug-related and narco-terrorism offenses. The internationally controversial operation has drawn widespread reaction. Some global leaders condemned the U.S. action as a grave breach of international law and a dangerous precedent for foreign intervention, while others expressed caution support for holding Maduro accountable. In Belize, the matter has been the subject of significant discussion. Speaking today, Honorable Francis Fonseca, Minister of Foreign Affairs, affirmed that Belize and its partners in the Caribbean and Central America region have been engaged in ongoing discussions and are expected to adopt a unified stance in response. Fonseca underscored that as a small nation, Belize firmly supports the principles of international sovereignty and territorial integrity, and believes regional responses should reflect respect for these norms.
Yeah, Belize, as you know, for several months, we've been monitoring the situation along with our regional partners, both in CARICOM and in SICA, and the wider Latin America as well. So Belize has consistently said, listen, we are concerned about the military buildup in the Caribbean Sea. We want to ensure that the Caribbean remains a zone of peace. So obviously we are very, very concerned about the events that took place over the last few days, where you had the U.S. military and other operatives of the United States government going into Venezuela and detaining and capturing both President Maduro and his wife and taking them back to the United States. We have engaged with CARICOM and SICA to discuss our collective response to this matter that is ongoing. But obviously, Belize is very, very concerned. Small states like Belize have a vested interest in a global order that respects international law, that respects multilateralism, that respects the UN Charter. We rely on those principles for our very existence. So it's very, very important for small states like Belize to make it very clear that we reject any efforts, any attempts, any actions aimed at eroding those fundamental principles of respect for international law, respect for sovereignty, respect for territorial integrity. Because those are the basis on which small states are able to grow and survive.
He added that regional leaders are committed to staying informed and engaged on the situation as it evolves, particularly given the potential effects on peace and stability in the hemisphere.
We are working very closely with, as I said, not only CARICOM, but also with our Central American partners, the wider CELAC community, Latin America and Central America and the Caribbean. We're all engaged. We're all assessing what is taking place. We're assessing a very fluid and volatile situation in Venezuela, what is happening. So we're getting information from Venezuela as well. When you're in government, you don't have the luxury of having loose lips, as like when you're in opposition. That's the luxury of being in opposition, of having loose lips. When you're in government, we have to act responsibly. We have to act in the national interest of Belize. We have to work very closely with our partners. It's not just Belize. We have to work with our partners. So we engage, as I said, very seriously with CARICOM, with SICA, to determine what would be the best approach in terms of our collective response to these issues and these developments that are taking place in Venezuela and in the Caribbean. So that's the approach we're taking. Yeah, well, again, it's not a question of what's to be gained by saying certain things. It's about, Belize making it very clear, as I have said today, and as we said in our statement, that we are concerned about the developments. We are going to work with our partners to ensure that there is a proper response to what is taking place. And at the end of the day, what we want is to ensure that the future of Venezuela is decided by the Venezuelan people. So we want to ensure that there's a return as quickly as possible to some constitutional order in Venezuela. And we're going to work through whatever means available to ensure that we add our voice to that effort, to ensure that Venezuela is respected, the sovereignty of Venezuela is respected, and the future of Venezuela is determined by the will of the Venezuelan people.
Concerns have been raised about the safety of Belizean citizens in Venezuela. Minister Fonseca today confirmed that approximately 5 Belizean students were residing in Venezuela at the time of the military action, but all have been accounted for and are reported to be safe at home.
Yeah, I think we had, my understanding is we had about 5 students who were studying in Venezuela in different fields. I think most of them were on scholarships from Venezuela, some full scholarships, some partial scholarships. But all 5 students, because of the events over the last few months, we were in discussion with them and in contact with them, our ambassador, Annie Lou Burns. And so they all came to Belize over the Christmas holidays. and they're all here in Belize, safely in Belize, and will not be returning to Venezuela until, we are comfortable that it is, safe for them to go back.
Medical students in Belize are grappling with uncertainty and frustration following revelations that Mohammed Khamis, MD, has been charged in the United States with orchestrating a scheme that defrauded Medicaid and Medicare of over $1 million. According to a statement from the Illinois Attorney General's office, Dr. Khamis, who managed 4 medical clinics and 4 pharmacies in Chicago, submitted claims for prescriptions and medical services he falsely claimed to have provided. In reality, he was out of the country during the time. The services were reportedly performed by a student from Dr. Khamis's non-accredited medical school in Bosnia who lacked the necessary medical license. Dr. Khamis faces multiple serious charges, including 6 counts of theft, money laundering, healthcare fraud, vendor fraud, and forgery. Despite all these allegations, he is listed as the Dean and the CEO of American Northwest University, ANU, an institution based on 2 Dry Creek Street in Belmopan, Belize. The fallout from this scandal has deeply affected Belizean students enrolled at ANU. Many have voiced their concerns about their impact on their education and financial investments. Additional reports indicate that the school premises are now sealed and inaccessible, and faculty members have yet to receive their salaries. Today, the Minister of Education, Honorable Francis Fonseca, spoke on the matter, citing much concern.
We've been discussing at the Ministry of Education. We're very concerned, and I have been very concerned about some of these offshore medical schools. We have to be concerned because, there are allegations, that, there are things happening at some of these institutions that we need to look into. So that is being done. I have directed the Ministry of Education to sit down with these people to look at what is taking place, to make sure that all of our questions and concerns are being addressed. It's not just the Ministry of Education. We put together a team that includes foreign affairs, immigration, and I think as well home affairs, to have a discussion so that we can address the concerns that are being expressed.
Students, the concern lies on their academic records and transcripts, and that is something that is also being discussed, says Fonseca.
I know one of the institutions has some students, has Belizean students. For the most part, all of the others have foreign nationals who are their students. These schools were really not set up for Belizeans. So, I don't know when Belizeans started attending these schools and on whose advice they started attending these schools. We certainly provide no support to any students attending these schools, and that is the policy of the Ministry of Education. But yes, when these schools have a charter, there are certain obligations that come with that charter, and if those terms, the terms of the charter, are being violated, we have a duty and responsibility to address it, and that's what we're doing. So it's an ongoing discussion, very important issue that's taking place at the ministry.
Are there any protections in place in terms of the credit transfers or recognition of the years of study for these Belizean students?
I think, that's a matter that's part of the discussion that's taking place. So that would have to be addressed moving forward.
And there is more news after the break. Stay tuned.
Still like one dream, because I say at the age of 63, I can say I own my own house. I can honestly say, and It get me weak. Before this, I was living on the mobile home, right? And then after a while, it started to go in and start to lock up and things.
1, 2, 3.
Actually, I may give up. I used to cry and night time. I said, Lord, please. And there comes Miss Mara. I always say, if you're not serious about something, don't pray for it. Don't pray about it. And I ask my God, please lead the Good Samaritan to me.
The housing program of the government of Belize, which is administered through the Ministry of Infrastructure Development and Housing, is definitely, without question, one of the best programs our government has to offer, providing an opportunity for Belizeans who are in need to own their own home. And so I'm very, very happy for Ms. Beverly Harris and her family. She has been asking for support and help with her home for a long time. And I'm very, very glad that with the kind support of the Ministry of Infrastructure Development and Housing, that we were able to get this done for her.
I'm thankful. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give 20. I love it. I love it.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Honorable Francis Fonseca today dismissed claims that Belize's third Safe Country Agreement with the United States was reached under pressure or threats of visa sanctions amid renewed public scrutiny of the deal. The agreement, which was finalized in October of last year, has recently come back into focus following developments involving the United States on the international front. These developments have prompted questions in some quarters about the intent of the agreement and whether Belize was compelled to sign under the threat of diplomatic or visa-related consequences. Speaking to the media today, Minister Fonseca categorically denied those claims, stressing that the agreement was not negotiated under duress. The Foreign Affairs Minister emphasized that discussions surrounding the agreement were conducted within the context of long-standing diplomatic cooperation between the two countries and were guided by mutual respect and shared interest.
No, certainly not. Certainly not. That issue never came up. We've had a very good relationship with the United States government over the last year, and there have been no threats made to Belize. We've had a very respectful dialogue, which led to the signing of that agreement. And it's a very, as I pointed out at the time, it's a very structured, tailored agreement with very, very narrow terms and implications for Belize.
And I imagine that there's been no update with all the holidays and so to finalize the regulations or protocols.
No, we haven't. I think that's something we'll be working on over the next few months.
The agreement, according to Fonseca, is expected to be finalized in the coming months. Belize has received a boost to its emergency response capabilities following the delivery of 4 emergency vehicles by a U.S. Air Force C-17 Globemaster III from Joint Base Lewis McChord. The vehicles were handed over to Southern Emergency Services and will be deployed to support emergency response efforts in communities across the country. The delivery was made possible through the Denton Humanitarian Assistance Program, which allows donated relief supplies to be transported aboard U.S. military aircraft at no cost. The United States, through U.S. Southern Command, continues to support Belize and regional partners by repurposing unused cargo space to deliver critical aid, strengthening cooperation and regional resilience. And that's the news. We invite you to join us for another newscast on Thursday, January 8th here on CTV3 News and Face FM 106.7. Remember that to read a text version of the news, you can visit our website at CTV3BelizeNews.com. You can also log on to our Facebook page for current stories at Facebook.com/CTV3BelizeNews, or our YouTube channel at CTV3 News BZ. From all of us here at CTV3, thank you for watching and listening. Good night.